Hi. Now tell me, have you ever peeked over to see if the neighbors were home and saw their car go on, the house dark, and figured out that they were out? That's how we often use reasoning to make sense of things around us. But not everyone needs a Sherlock Holmes moment. A lot of what we believe, like the cup on our table or the cereals we had for breakfast, we just know without having to play detective. This kind of instant belief without deep thought is usually pretty solid for us. Now, when it comes to believing in the big stuff like God, some folks reckon you need a solid argument to back it up. But here's the thing, not just the belief in God's existence, but also other spiritual beliefs like what God is really like, or if sacred texts are legit, might not need a debate club to make them reasonable. Some thinkers challenge the whole you gotta prove it to believe it stance on faith. They look at arguments like if believing in God makes sense, then there's got to be a killer argument for it. No great argument, no reasonable belief. But instead of trying to win this argument, they flip the script. They question whether we really need an argument to believe in God at all. This video delves into their perspective, asking, can you believe in something bigger than us without having to argue your case? Let's explore. Think of it this way, when we talk about being rational or reasonable, we often think it's all about having solid evidence to back up what we believe. But here's the kicker. Evidence isn't just about throwing down arguments left and right. It's also about what we experience directly, like the things we see, hear, touch, and feel. Now imagine if we had to whip up an argument for every single thing we believe, including backing up every step of that argument too, we would end up in this never-ending loop, like a dog chasing its tail, and let's be honest, that's just not how we roll. We don't have the time or the brain power to justify every single belief with a hardcore argument. And guess what? Hardly anyone these days, real intellectual, buys into the idea that our reasoning has to go on forever like some kind of philosophical treadmill. Now, really, times have changed. This is where the concept of foundationalism comes into play. It is this idea that not everything needs an argument to stand on solid ground. There are some beliefs that just are. No frills, no fuss. They are the bedrock, the foundation of all our other beliefs. Think of them as the home base in a game of tag. They are safe sports that don't need defending. But wait, there's a twist. Not everyone is on board with this whole foundational belief thing. Some folks argue that our beliefs are more like a giant web, where everything is connected and supports each other. The real test of reasonable, what is it? How well all our beliefs play nice and back each other up forming a tight-knit network of understanding. So there you have it. A quick dive into why being reasonable isn't about having an argument for everything under the sun. It's about recognizing that some things just are, and how all our beliefs mesh together to form a coherent picture of the world around us. Let's break it down. A lot of folks who believe in God do so because they have put together the cosmic clues, like the universe's origin and its precise order, and concluded that God is the best explanation. Some believers lean on heavyweight arguments like the cosmological or design theories to back up their faith. Sure, arguing that the universe's mind-boggling complexity points to a divine creator can make belief in God seem pretty rational. But then there is a whole other camp. Picture this. You're out one night, gazing up at a star-packed sky or cradling a newborn, and bam, you're hit with this overwhelming sense that God is right there with you. For these believers, their conviction doesn't come from piecing together an argument. It's more like an instant knowing sparked by profound moments. And to some modern thinkers who say, yep, feeling God's presence in those moments is a perfectly rational basis for belief. They're not all about needing airtight arguments to justify belief in God. This perspective, known as Reformed epistemology, flips the script on the old "you need the evidence to believe" argument. Alvin Plantinga, a big name in this field, argues that believing in God can be as natural and justified as believing in the everyday stuff around us, like that cup on your desk or the bird chirping outside your window. He says that if there is a God, it makes sense that he would wire us with a built-in sense of divinity, a sensus divinitatis, enabling us to know him directly without needing a middleman argument. And it's not just about Christianity or Abrahamic faiths. Other scholars have explored similar concepts across different religions, showing that this direct connection idea might have universal appeal. So, what's the deal with the evidence then? Plantinga points out that evidence isn't about just constructing logical arguments. It also includes our experiences and perceptions, like that awe-inspiring night sky. In other words, experiencing something that feels like a touch of the divine counts as evidence, making belief in God as rational as any other belief based on direct experience. According to phenomenal conservatism, if something seems true to you and there's nothing convincing you otherwise, you're pretty much good to go in believing it. This approach suggests that just as we trust our senses to tell us there's a tree in front of us, we can trust our experiences of the divine to justify belief in God. Unless, of course, there's a strong counter evidence. So, Belief in God doesn't always need a roadmap of logical arguments to be considered rational. Sometimes it's about those moments that leave you feeling connected to something greater without needing to explain it away. It's about recognizing that evidence for belief can come from our experiences just as much as from our reasoning. Picture this: you are convinced God is out there, feeling it deep in your bones without needing a fancy debate to prove it. But hold up, not everyone is buying the just feel it vibe. Critics are throwing curveball left and right, challenging the whole idea of naturally believing in God. Okay, let's break down the major league objections and see if we can hit a home run back. First, we've got what is called the Great Pumpkin Objection. Yeah, you heard that right. Like the Charlie Brown story. If we are saying feeling God's presence makes believing in Him cool without needing proof, what is stopping someone from claiming the same about the Great Pumpkin? Or heck, tooth fairies and goblins? Sounds wacky, but stick with me. Then there's the religious diversity fastball. People all over the globe are feeling a spiritual vibe, but they are not all jamming to the same divine tune. Christians might feel Christ's presence. Hindus might connect with Brahman, and Muslims with Allah. The question is, if folks can't agree on which spiritual channel they are tuned into, how can anyone be sure their religious experience is the real deal without some solid argument backing it up? And don't even get me started on this analogy slider. Critics argue there's a big difference between believing in everyday stuff like cup on a desk and believing in God. They say our day to day beliefs are in a whole different league from religious beliefs. Now, for the curveball. If believing in God because it feels right is legit, does that mean any belief that feels right is fair game? Imagine someone swears they hang with the great pumpkin every Halloween. If we give a thumbs up to natural belief in God, are we also signing off on believing in pumpkin royalty? Here is the pitch back. Sure, believing in the great pumpkin might seem rational if you are all in on personal experiences. But let's be real. Most of us have solid reasons to call foul on the great pumpkin and other fantastical beings. Lack of evidence? Anyone? Now, when it comes to God, believers can argue the playing field is different. They'll say doubts about the great pumpkin don't play in the big leagues with doubts about God. Maybe the evil in the world or the lack of a divine selfie makes some folks question God's existence. Yet, for those who have felt something more, these challenges might not shake their belief. And here's the clincher. Not everyone is batting with the same info. Some believers might not have dug into the big questions or might not know how to knock objections out of the park. For them, leaning on their community's wisdom could be enough to keep their belief in God in the safe zone. So whether you are a believer based on a gut feeling or someone who needs a bit more to go on, the debate or natural belief in God is like a game with extra innings. No matter where you stand, it's all about playing fair and seeing where the game takes us. In the grand arena of belief, the idea that feeling God's presence can stand alone as a basis for faith throws a curveball into traditional arguments about the need for evidence. We have tackled the heavy hitter, the great pumpkin objection, the religious diversity challenge, and the disanalogy between everyday convictions and divine beliefs. Each objection takes a swing at the idea that belief in God can be as natural as believing the sun will rise tomorrow. But here's the play. While critics pitch scenarios of fantastical beings to challenge natural belief, defenders argue that God plays in a league of his own. The debate isn't just about whether we can believe without evidence. It's about what counts as evidence in the first place. For many, personal experiences and the sense of divine presence are as real as the ground beneath their feet. Yet, as we round the bases, we recognize that not all players are equipped with the same gear to tackle objections. Some believers, standing in the outfield of faith, might not dive into philosophical debates or theological disputes. Instead, they find strength in the community and the shared experiences that resonate with their sense of the divine. As we head for home plate, remember, the journey of faith is not a solo sprint but a team sport. Whether you are the kind of believer who needs a playbook full of arguments or someone who trusts the gut feeling of divine presence, what matters most is how we support each other in exploring the big question of existence. So, as the game continues and the innings stretch into the unknown, let's celebrate the diversity of belief and personal journey that bring us closer to understanding the mystery of the divine. After all, in the ballpark of life, faith is not just about scoring points, but about playing the game with heart and soul. To play with heart and soul. Enrich your life. Keep thinking, keep exploring. We'll meet next time. Thank you.